Let me ask you something before I even start this story. Have you ever loved someone so completely, so deeply, that you would have burned your whole world down just to keep them warm? Because that was me. That was exactly me. And the night I realized the woman I'd given everything to had been lying straight to my face, I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just sat in our dark living room at 2 a.m., listened to her shower running upstairs, and quietly asked myself how long I'd been the only one trying to save this marriage. Keep listening, because this story doesn't end where you think it does. Her name was Simone, and from the moment I met her, I was finished. Done. Cooked. We met at a mutual friend's dinner party 7 years ago. She walked in, wearing this deep burgundy dress, laughing at something someone said before she even got through the door, and I remember thinking, whoever makes that woman laugh like that every day is the luckiest person alive. I made it my mission that night to be that person. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, married for 4 after that. 6 years of building something I genuinely believed was unbreakable. We weren't perfect, no mariachis, but we were O-U-R-S. We fought about dishes and money and whose turn it was to call the plumber. Normal things, human things, but at the end of every single day, we came back to each other. That was the deal. That was the foundation. I trusted Simone with everything I had. My fears, my failures, the parts of myself I'd never shown another person. She knew me in ways that still make me feel exposed, just thinking about it. And I knew her, at least I thought I did. It started small, the way these things always do. A Thursday night, about 8 months ago. She said she was going to her friend Dana's place for a girls' night. Nothing unusual. She'd done it before. But she came home later than expected. Much later, and when I asked how Dana was doing, something flickered across her face. Just for a second. So fast I almost missed it. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. I went to sleep, but that flicker stayed with me like a splinter you can't quite reach. The next few weeks, the girls' nights became more frequent. Every Thursday, sometimes Fridays too. She'd come home smelling like cigarette smoke, and Simone doesn't smoke. She'd be on her phone more, but put it face down whenever I walked into the room. She started laughing at things she wouldn't share with me. Private jokes from a world I wasn't invited into. I started paying attention. Not in a crazy, obsessive-y way, but in that quiet, heartbroken way that a man pays attention when he's terrified of what he might find. And piece by piece, the picture started forming. The night I confirmed she was lying, I hadn't planned to. She'd said she was going to Dana's again. I happened to be driving home from a late work meeting and passed by a restaurant we used to love. On instinct, I glanced over. Her car was parked outside. Primera slowed down. I looked through the window. She was sitting across from a man I didn't recognize. They were leaning toward each other the way people do when they don't want the rest of the room to hear them. She was laughing. That same laugh from the dinner party, the one I'd spent 6 years trying to protect. I kept driving. I don't know how I made it home. I don't remember the drive. I just remember sitting in our driveway for 40 minutes, completely still, feeling something inside me quietly come apart at the seams. I didn't confront her that night, or the next day, or the week after that. Instead, something in me just switched off, like a circuit breaker tripping to protect the system from burning out completely. Primera, bícame calm, polite, functional. But I was gone. Emotionally, I had already started packing. She noticed about 3 weeks later. We were in the kitchen on a Sunday morning. She was making coffee and I was reading something on my phone, not really seeing it. She set a mug down in front of me and stood there, watching me for a moment. "You've been different," she said. I looked up. "Have I?" "Don't do that. Don't act like you don't know what I mean." She crossed her arms. "You're distant. You barely talk to me. You come to bed and turn away. What's going on with you?" I put my phone down slowly. Primera looked at her, really looked at her, and I said, calmly, quietly, with every ounce of dignity I had left, "I'm preparing for your exit, Simone. I'm just getting myself ready." The color drained from her face, and then everything exploded. She denied it at first. Then she got angry. Then she cried. I sat at that kitchen table completely still while she cycled through every emotion in the human spectrum. I told her what I saw. The restaurant. The man. The lies. All of it. Every late night. Every face-down phone. Every flicker I'd been quietly collecting for months. She sank into the chair across from me and covered her face with her hands. "It's not what you think," she whispered. And I almost laughed. Because what else would she say? But then she started talking, and I stopped breathing. The man at the restaurant was her brother. Her biological brother, Marcus, who she'd been secretly reconnecting with after 17 years of a family fracture so deep and so painful that she'd never even told me the full story. A brother who'd been involved in things that had shattered their family when she was in her 20s. A brother who had spent years getting his life together and had reached out to her 6 months ago, asking for a chance to reconnect. She'd been meeting him in secret because she was terrified. Terrified he'd disappear again. Terrified of getting hurt. Terrified that if she told me and it fell apart, she'd have to grieve it out loud instead of privately. She'd been protecting herself the only way she knew how, by keeping it in a box no one else could touch. The girls' nights were cover. Dana knew. The secrecy was real, but the reason was nothing I had imagined. I sat there and felt the ground shift completely beneath me. We didn't fix it that day. I want to be honest with you about that because too many stories skip this part. I was still hurt. The lying still cut deep, regardless of the reason. Trust doesn't snap back like a rubber band just because the explanation makes sense. We had hard conversations. Painful ones. We sat with a marriage counselor for 8 weeks and said things to each other in that office that we'd never found the words for before. There was one night, our lowest point, where we sat on opposite ends of our couch in complete silence, and I genuinely didn't know if we were going to make it. She was crying quietly. I was staring at the wall. And then she said, barely above a whisper, "I don't want to lose you over my own fear. I'm so sorry I made you feel like you were losing me." Something cracked open in my chest. Not broke, cracked open, like light getting in. I moved to her side of the couch. I didn't say anything. I just sat close enough that our shoulders touched, and we stayed like that for a long time. That was 4 months ago. Simone and I are still together, still married, still learning. Marcus came to dinner last month, first time I'd met him, and watching Simone laugh with her brother across our dinner table. Genuinely free, genuinely happy. I understood for the first time what she'd been trying to protect. I'm not going to stand here and tell you everything is perfect, but I'll tell you this. We are more honest with each other now than we have ever been. The walls came down. All of them. And what we're building on the other side of all that pain is something neither of us would trade. She lied about where she went, and I checked out because of it. But what almost destroyed us ended up being the thing that finally forced us to be real with each other. Sometimes the fracture is exactly where the healing begins. If this story hits you somewhere deep, drop a comment below and tell me. Have you ever shut down emotionally in a relationship instead of speaking up? I want to hear your story. Like this video if you believe real love is worth fighting through the hard conversations. Share it with someone who needs to hear that marriages can survive the truth. And I'll see you in the next one.